हरे कृष्णा आमे आज गोटे इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक डिस्कशन करिबा हम समस्ते somewhere or other we are all new in Krishna consciousness. That's why we are reading from Beginner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness. And we all are in a way beginner only because somehow or other we are lacking in our practice. Today we'll discuss about one important topic in our Krishna consciousness, that is four regulative principles. Without these four regulative principles, we cannot advance. There's a beautiful video. What is this four regulative principles about?
A devotee must follow the four regulative principles. Like his eating habit must be perfect. He should never indulge in any kind of intoxication which will affect his consciousness. That is the reason why we should avoid intoxication, because when one takes intoxication, his consciousness becomes blurred, his consciousness becomes affected, and he cannot think straight, he cannot think properly. But a devotee's consciousness must be perfectly tuned into Krishna's consciousness. But if one takes intoxication, then that will hamper that will thwart that. And a devotee his activities must be perfectly moral. He should never have any kind of illicit or immoral relationship with anybody, especially with opposite sex. Like in India, we see so many scandals about spiritual leaders indulging into illicit sex. And Prabhupada pointed out, they cannot avoid it because they do not have any higher taste. In the material platform, sex life is the highest pleasure. Now, unless and until one has a higher taste, he won't be able to give up his sex desire. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is the perfect way. And a devotee must be truthful. He should never tell a lie. He should never cheat. And he should never deceive anybody.
Hare Krishna. So this is a gist of how four regulative principles will help us and what to do so that we can follow. Like there are many questions. We may think that we are trying to follow the four regulative principles, but we are not able to do that. So what to do? So the answer is that four regulative principles we can only be able to follow if we try to become Krishna conscious. Without Krishna consciousness, these four regulative principles we cannot follow strictly. Suppose if somebody tells you just follow the four regulative principles and you don't need to chant Hare Krishna, will it be possible for our case to do it? No, we won't be able to do that. Just because we are chanting, we are getting the strength to do that. If we don't chant, we'll not get the strength to follow the four regulative principles also. That's why you'll see that initial days when Srila Prabhupada was initiating his disciples in New York, so Prabhupada was focusing more about chanting, because if somebody is able to chant, then one day he'll be able to follow the four regulative principles. Initially, he did not force about four regulative principles. More important is chanting. So if somebody chants, we'll get the strength to follow the four regulative principles. So where from these four regulative principles come from? This comes from here. What is that? Abhyarthithastada tasmai sthanani kalaye dadau dyutam panam sriyasuna jatra dharmas chaturvidha. What is said? Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter were performed. Actually, somewhere, Kali, you can see in the picture here. Kali is begging for a place. Kali is begging for a place so where he can stay. And being the king, he had to give him some place because he is also one of the citizens of his nation. So when Parishit had to give him some place, Parishit gave him these places: gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter. Wherever these places are, these things are happening, there Kali will stay. So if we want to, although we are all staying in this Kali Yuga, if we want to remain free from the effects of this Kali Yuga, then what we have to do? Then we have to take to this Krishna consciousness. And in this Krishna consciousness, what is our philosophy? We don't eat meat, we don't indulge in gambling, we don't indulge in intoxication, nor do we indulge in illicit sex. Because these are the 4 pillars of our of anybody's means if we don't do this, then that is our spiritual life. And if somebody does that, that is his sinful life. So if somebody is sinful or not, basically these 4 points can say us. If he is indulged in meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, or intoxication, if any of these or more than one of these, then he is sinful, we can say. So in order to get rid of this, we must, what we heard initially, that we must take to Krishna consciousness. Without Krishna consciousness, it's so difficult. Like we can see a very simple test can prove this. Before coming to Krishna consciousness, how many of us were not able to, how many of us were truly vegetarians? Before coming to Krishna consciousness, how many of us stopped drinking tea, coffee, or any other drinks? Before coming to Krishna consciousness, how many of us stopped gambling? No. So that means only by Krishna consciousness we could stop these activities up to some extent. So this is by the strength of Krishna consciousness that we can follow these 4 things. And when we follow these 4 things, that will also help us chant more offenselessly. Prabhupada said that these 4 regulative principles, it is a must for every devotee. And we must follow these 4 regulative principles. Once His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj was telling that these 4 regulative principles does not make anybody a devotee. Devotee means he is in Krishna consciousness. But these 4 regulative principles actually makes a person a civilized human. If a person is civilized or not, we come to know by if he is following these 4 regulative principles. And what are the 4 regulative principles? One is no meat eating. No meat eating, that means not just meat, but meat, fish, egg, onions, and garlics. These are all forbidden by devotees. A couple of years back, when website was launched with the recipes of the devotees, recipes of bhogas, which can be offered to the Lord, and that website was named as totalveg.com. In that website, they wrote a simple thing that why devotees do not eat all these things. So they wrote one single line: because these items cannot be offered to the Supreme Lord, because these items cannot be offered to Krishna, so devotees don't eat. Simple thing. Whatever can be offered to Krishna, devotees eat that. And whatever is not offered to Krishna, devotees don't eat that. So simply on that principle, whatever may come, be it mushroom, garlic, onion, whatever, egg, fish, we must know that if it is not offered to Krishna, let us not eat it. In this simple formula, we can control it. And the same way, intoxication. If um, if somebody is indulged in drinking alcohol, ganja, or tobacco, pan, tea, coffee, or Coca-Cola, so all these things include under intoxication, because they create some what they are sedative. They bring sleep in us. They make us inactive. So that is intoxication. Because people think if I am in pain and if I drink alcohol, I'll forget the pain. But actually, there's what nervous system becomes weak, and they cannot recognize what is happening around. So that's why Prabhupada says that we must not do intoxication. There was a study by a pilot, and he was saying that if somebody, if a pilot is drunk, then he's not allowed to fly. He's not allowed to means, drive the plane. No, if he's drunk within last 24 hours. Even onion and garlic, they're saying that if somebody has drank, if somebody has eaten onion and garlic before the journey, then his response within a second will be very less. His response rate will be less. So that's why even pilots, they don't eat onion garlic before their travel. And in our Krishna consciousness, we should totally avoid, because our principle is we must remain Krishna conscious all over the time. And the same applies to gambling. Gambling also, there are many other activities. Especially gambling means we think this lotteries and also this intraday stock marketing, stocks, share marketing. Intraday share marketing is also kind of gambling. And these lotteries, etc., are also gambling. Whatever, also the things which we watch on TV, they are also not good to be watched by us. So that all comes under gambling or putting bait upon something, these things. And illicit sex. Illicit sex, we all know. Maharaj has written in his book, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, that any sexual relationships other than those within marriage for the purpose of begetting Krishna conscious children is under illicit sex. Illicit sex means anything without begetting children, that is included under illicit sex, whatever it is. Even extramarital relationships or masturbation, whatever it is. So these all come under illicit sex. Now, definitely we must be looking for some solution, because problems are there. Solutions are more important than problems. So what to do? Best is to talk to the devotees whom we know very much closely. Whomever we know very closely, we should discuss with them that how we can overcome these problems. And one more book is written by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, Brahmacharya and Krishna Consciousness. Very nice book. Although it's not, I want to recommend everybody to read it at the moment. But at some point of time in your life, you can read that. Small book. Maharaj has given many points which helps us in our Krishna consciousness. In the first page only, Maharaj wrote there that I'm not writing this book only for the brahmacharis. I'm writing it for every devotee who wants to become serious in Krishna consciousness. I'm writing this for every devotee who wants to become advanced. So in that way. Now we'll do a small group exercise of 2 members each. There are 14 members. You have to join a group, and in that group you have to share in which 4 regulative principles you are facing difficulty, and the other partner will say the solution to it, what to do about it. and this, and also your partner will share his heart, and then you will say solution to the 4 regulative principles. Clear? I'm assigning it automatically. So 7 breakout rooms. It is clear now? You have to share what is the problem. If you are having any problem in following the 4 regulative principles, and your friend will say if there is any solution. Clear? It is clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So it will be 2 minutes, quickly 2-3 minutes. Join, click join. Join click करंतु होची.
थोड़ी हेल्प करता है.
हाँ तो कौन हेल्प दरकार है अपन कहले.
हरे कृष्णा.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Help you wanted?
ନାଇଁ ପ୍ରଭୁଜୀ ମୁଁ ଯଦି ମାରି ଦେଇଥିଲି ଆମେ କଥା ହେଉଥିଲୁ ପ୍ରକୃତରେ 4 ରେଗୁଲେଟିଭ ପ୍ରିନ୍ସିପଲ ଯଦି ଆମେ ପ୍ରପାତ ଆମକୁ ନ ଦେଇଥାନ୍ତେ ତାହେଲେ ଆମେ ବୋଧେ ମାନେ ଭକ୍ତି ଆସିପାରି ନଥାନ୍ତେ ବେଶୀ ମେଟେରିଆଲ ଆଟାଚ ହେଇକି ସେମିତି ରହିଥାନ୍ତେ ଯୋଉମାନେ ହେଲେ ମାରି ଦେଇଥିଲି ଭୁଲରେ ସେ ଜାଣିପାରିନଥିଲି
अच्छा.
ଆମେ ଭକ୍ତି ଚରଣ ମଳକୁ
हरे कृष्णा समस्त म्यूट करी कोन रखछंती.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी धन्यवाद प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभुजी.
हां कोन
हरे कृष्ण धन्यवाद प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्णा माता जी धन्यवाद. किछ सॉल्यूशन मिलला नहीं प्रॉब्लम संतोष.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभुजी.
किछ प्रॉब्लम कोई ना थी नाले रोजी. हां से तो नुआ.
प्रभुजी.
ओके रोजी माता जी और सुचार माता जी डिस्कस कर.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी धन्यवाद प्रणाम। प्रभु जी मु जस्ट एबे जॉइन कली क्लास थिला मोर।
ओके कोन प्रॉब्लम कार अछि डिसाइड माने ए जो हमर 4 रिलेटिव प्रिंसिपल्स फॉलो करके सेटा हम डिस्कस करछ टीचर.
4 रेगुलेटिव प्रिंसिपल्स रे
हां कोन प्रॉब्लम आछि त हमें सेटा को ही माने
Okay.
आम पार्टनर को शेयर करबा से हम सॉल्यूशन देबे
आज्ञा प्रभु जी
आपण एकुटिया अछन
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी आ जने प्रभु जी थिले जे तो तांको एक्चुअली मु पचारली
हां
कि तांकर कोन प्रॉब्लम बोले जो फॉर रेगुलेटिव प्रिंसिपल को नै कि तांकर किछि प्रॉब्लम से कहले नै किछि प्रॉब्लम नै मोर पर्सनल प्रॉब्लम अछि मु प्रभु जी के सहित कथा है
ओके
थैंक यू जो शरद प्रभु जी की कोन तांको नाम ते कोन था
शरद अच्छा अच्छा
हां आज्ञा
ठीक है ओ ताले एड कर दे
आ समस्त लेफ्ट हे गले बदे
थिबे सेपट थिबे कोन
जानी पार नथे से जो आस्क फॉर हेल्प एवरा सब जानी पार नथे कि जन कोन करछि
हां एटा दीटा ग्रुप हे होजे ना माने यूथ भी रहउ छ ना
आज्ञा आज्ञा प्रभु हरे कृष्ण धर्म प्रणाम
हां
Any other thing?
अभी डिस्कशन हबो
हाँ ठीक है
हरे कृष्ण माता जी
हाँ तो आसी जाइछन्ते आपण माने हमर होची कोन आमे सबले माने जो हम जो हरिनाम करूचे ता ऊपर भरोसा रखियर अछि सेटा भी ओवरकम हे जिवो भगवान आपण माने प्रभुंकर जो से तो बाहर रहउतंती बोली बाहर आपण जानि पार नंती किंतु सेटा भी ओवरकम हे जिवो आपण समस्ते
ये माता जी एते माने पसंद भी करंतिनी बट माने जेमती बाध्य कैंटीन रे बनेइबो माने से पाइबा को बाध्य तो सेमती पाई जानते माता जी
ताले कहारो सॉल्यूशन मिलिला कहारो सॉल्यूशन ये शेयर करी हां चैतन्य को कम शेयर
प्रभु जी हमरो तो चाली जी हे जाय हमें साथी नु
हाँ प्रभु जी माने एकदम हमको माने मु जहा जाने हरिनाम नाम ता ऊपर हमर बहुत ध्यान देबार अछि नाम कले माने नाम प्रभु ही हमको सबथरो उद्धार करिवे ताको जो प्रॉब्लम आसुजी माने एबे ताको प्रभु जी बाहर रहउचंती तो सेटा मु सेटा भी ओवरकम हे जिवो सेटा भी ठीक हे जिवो जसित हबो ना
अरे बोल बाकी से मंदिर आसुनांदी झियो किंतु मोर से भी माने
तो आपण से
किछि
गोटे ही
टाइम
हम साध साधन सब होची हरिनाम सेटा
आज्ञा
करंतु
माता जी
सब प्रॉब्लम
आज्ञा
सॉल्व हे जिवो
और कोन चैतन्य प्रभु
हरे
कोन कहले कि
थैंक यू सो मच
आज्ञा
माता जी हरे
कल
कृष्णा
जेମିତି ସେ ଆଗ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଏକା
हां
ମେନଲି ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ବହୁତ ବେସିକାଲି ସେଇ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଏକା କାରଣ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଚାରିଟା ଜିନିଷ ତ ଆମକୁ ଗୋଟେ ସିଭିଲାଇଜ ପର୍ସନ କରେ ବଟ୍ ହେଲେ ହୋଲି ନେମ୍ ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ନେଇଥାଉ ଆମକୁ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲି କାରଣ ବିଫୋର କମ୍ ଟୁ କ୍ରିଷ୍ଣା କନସିୟସ୍ ଆମେ ମାନେ ଚାରିଟା ଜିନିଷ ନର୍ମାଲି नो मीटिंग गुड़ा हरिका नथिला किंतु लाइफ एते माने गॉड कॉन्शियस नथिला कृष्णा कनसियस तो बुझिला सिंदे लाइफ आहुरी भी कारण हमें भी देखुछु लोकन वेजिटेरियन भी अछि किंतु लाइफ रे शांति नाहंदी वास्तव रे गई होली नेम आमे नउचे बा प्रैक्टिकल फील करछन आमे पदयात्रा भी जाउछी इवेन देखुछु गां गालु छन बहुत भलो लोक रहउछन मंदिर भीतर भी सेडी बसी बीड़ी गंजा से फुंकुछ आमे कहलो आम गां आम एरिया आमे जा करबू आम वे आमे जा कर परबू तो एमि प्रैक्टिकल जिनस देखुछु हम बुझौछु गां का जाई बबूती होली नेम करिया पे कहउछु एक्सपीरियंस होउछि लाइफ रे प्रैक्टिकल जिनस तो एमि बहुत सारा भी होउछि
ओके ठीक अछि एटा बस गोटे हमें ये वाला करलु ताकि हमरो गोटे एक्सपीरियंस हबो जे वी कैन शेयर कारण हम हार्ट जे शेयर करबा ताले हमको आरी बेसी जिनस जाना पड़ी तो ठीक अछि अब हम एटा कंटिन्यू करबा
Hare Krishna Prabhuji
हां
and myself and Dr. Prabhu we have discussed some of the points. That means we have agreed that playing cards also is coming under that gambling. It's on na?
एकदम
तास भी खेलियो नै
हाँ देखा नहीं
आमे 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 हां कोंत
हाँ कौन ये tell
प्रभु जी
मु
खाली
कहउछि जे आमे तोरे
तास होछि चैलेंज
आमे
कैरम
जेतबे
खेलिबा लूडो
कृष्ण कॉन्शियस से आसीले हमको हायर
हाँ।
टेस्ट मिले हमको ताश खेलने की इच्छा हो कि
ना
नहीं
And
ସେଇଟା
that,
ଭାବି ନିଅନ୍ତୁ।
that is also mere wastage of time. And
everything is about that.
in that
Then
time
we
also we
can.
are forgetting Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna are forgetting. So it is a serious offense, because in every moment we have tried to remember Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. And that illicit sex, that means a marriage person is supposed to marry for creation of this world, for creation of his offsprings, sons and daughters. He should not indulge in other activities beyond these two things. He should not utilize his power to for enjoyment sake.
Correct.
For creation of this creativity, for maintaining this, you have to use that our power. Otherwise, it is not the right thing. Is it so?
Correct.
These are the most principles, and other principles also we all are following strictly. And 16 malas we are Delhi we are doing. And
So that
one thing I found in our working in the morning work, I made so many friends, and I greeted them by telling Hare Krishna with raising two of my hands. So in one stage, some of my friends raised one hand. I pointed out that mistake. You should not raise one hand. That is not decorum. You should raise two hands. Why? Because we are now giving honor to the. We are not human. We are human beings. I am sannyasi Mishra. I am not this physical body. Sannyasi Mishra not. Inside there is God. We are honoring, we are respecting our God by raising our two hands. And that is why you try to raise two hands. And I found that some of my friends, they are also raising their two hands when I am telling Hare Krishna. It is a very good effect. What I think. And sometimes changing their practice. When they saw me, first they tell me Hare Krishna, yes, Hare Krishna.
Good. Somehow or other they'll get some Sukriti now.
They'll get early morning. They are giving me Prabhu's name. They are listening Prabhu's name. That is good. What I think, I change them. So many persons I change them. Even old persons, they are also changing like anything. When they saw me, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
So this one video I'll show you. So video Maharaj ki.
Although in the material nature one cannot control this urge, but when one becomes spiritually situated, then he can control. The only way to conquer this urge is by becoming situated in the spiritual platform. Or on the other hand, we can say that when one becomes situated in the spiritual platform, he naturally becomes disinterested in these acts. And that's why to enter into the spiritual platform, to become properly situated in the spiritual platform, one has to conquer sex desire. Even the Mayavadis, those who are planning, those who are desiring to merge in Brahma Jyoti, even they conquer the sex desire, although they may not succeed most of the times. There are so many such examples. Vishamitra was performing austerities for 64,000 years. And then just he happened to hear the ankle bell of Menoka, another celestial damsel, Apsara. Heavenly planet has these beautiful women, and so Indra sent Menaka, and all his senses were withdrawn. Like meditation or yoga has this aspect called pratyahar, when the senses are withdrawn, and then only one is able to meditate. So in order to meditate, one has to withdraw his senses from external projection. Otherwise, the senses are running towards the objects of the senses. Dhayate vishayan punsha. The senses are running to the objects of the senses, vishaya. So that is the natural materialistic tendency. But if one wants to meditate properly, then he has to withdraw his senses. Then only he will be able to meditate, meaning project his consciousness internally to perceive the Lord in the heart. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So this is how Maharaj is saying that simple by Krishna consciousness only this can happen. So here also another video is there by Radheshyam Prabhu. He also spoke it quite a long time back, and Radheshyam Prabhu also speaks the same thing, that we are not accustomed to so many don'ts. If somebody just tells you without telling what to do, if somebody just comes and tells you what not to do, then how will we feel? So we won't be able to proceed. So that's why actually Prabhupada is a practical teacher. He is the Acharya. He is teaching us, he is guiding us by giving us so many do's. By engaging in so many other activities in Krishna consciousness, we can forget these four things: meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication. Otherwise, you just ask anybody, nobody can be able to conquer these things except a Krishna's devotee. Like he could not do it, Vishwamitra could not do it, but Haridas Thakur did it so nicely. So here are some quotes by Srila Prabhupada. We'll just have a read. To avoid material activities means to follow the four regulative principles and to engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness constantly, and to have the association of devotees. So to avoid material activities, this is important. The leaders of the peace movement must be all men of character, and to raise such men, there must be the four regulative principles. So any society's leaders must follow these principles. If one follows the four regulative principles and regularly chants Hare Krishna, there will be no question of falling down from devotion service. So if you don't want to fall down, we just have to continue this. And this is a nice one. If you continue in this way and strictly follow the four regulative principles, making sure to chant at least 16 rounds on the beads daily, it is without a doubt that at the end of this lifetime, we all can go back home, back to God. So simply by following this four regulative principles, chanting our rounds, it is sure, because Prabhupada is saying it is without a doubt that after our life ends, we'll go back home, back to God. So what more can we get from this? This slide was actually before, here, we have put it here. No meditating means it is actually breaking the pillar. These are the four pillars: meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication are the pillars of sinful life. And the pillars of religion are this. This is there in 1:17:24. Tapa, Saucham, Daya, Satyam. So if there is no Daya, if there is meat eating, there is no Daya. If there is intoxication, that means no tapasya. Like Maharaj was telling, that if somebody is indulged in intoxication, he cannot do any tapasya. And if somebody is illicit sex engaged, he is not clean. And if somebody is involved in gambling, then he is not truthful. So these are the 4 pillars of religion. In order to protect these 4 pillars of religion, we have to take note how we can get rid of all these 4 sinful activities. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Prabhuji, kindly repeat once again.
Means these are the 4 pillars of religion, and these are the 4 pillars of sinful life. That
Prabhuji, that 4 pillars. Once again, Prabhuji.
Okay. Here.
Daya.
You write the number, verse number.
Okay, I am taking the screenshot.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam.